All right, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is JG Decker. Welcome to the APAP Road to Conference on Programming. We're so happy to have you here. I'm going to give you some house tips, some housekeeping tips before we get started. So I'd like to start off by welcoming everybody to the space. APAP is the Association of Performing Arts Professionals. We are housed in Washington, D.C., which is on the unceded land of the Anacostan and Picostan people, the Anacostan and the Piscataway people. I myself am located on the lands of the Wampanoag, Massachusetts, and Nipmuc peoples of the Shawmut, which are also unceded. And I welcome all of you to put into the chat who you are, where you're from, maybe a little land acknowledgement if you know, so that we can get everything rolling. Here at APAP, we use a variety of different methods to ask questions. For this, we're going to go through the slides first. We'll present the information, and then we'll have time at the end for a Q&A. If you have any questions, I encourage everybody to use the raise the hand feature or to put into the chat. We have several staff members looking and just monitoring, or you can wave on screen. If you need, we'll call on folks. We use the stack method, so we'll call on one person and then we'll go down the list as we see them. And then lastly, we also use the two before you method. So if you find that you're talking quite a lot, or maybe you're asking a lot of questions, maybe take a moment, pause, let somebody else go in to ask questions, another person to go in as well before you ask yours or to make a statement, just so that we can keep everything going and make sure that all questions are answered. And then we're going to move on to the next slide. And then this is a list of APAP staff members who are here: Shayla Bird, myself, Keisha Shorter, Sam Myers, Victoria Murray Batten, Neo Narno Madison, Sue Noseworthy, and Robbie Otley. And then we're going to move on to the next slide, which is going to be our agenda, which is what we're going to go through today. And so we'll take a minute here before I jump it over to Neo Narno Madison.
Thank you, JG. And again, greetings, everyone. We're glad to be with you today. And as you see the agenda before you, today we'll be discussing what APAP NYC is, who APAP NYC is for. We will hear about APAP NYC programming for our upcoming conference, including themes, tracks, and innovations this year. Then we will go into a peer panel, hearing from our panelists about how you make the most out of your programming experience at APAP NYC. And then we reserve the remainder of our time together for Q&A. You'll hear from veterans, and it's a great opportunity for newcomers to share your questions about coming into the field and hear from veterans. And then we will finish with next steps. Next slide, please. Okay, as I just mentioned, what is APAP NYC? Next slide, please. APAP NYC is the world's largest convening and booking marketplace for the performing arts presenting, booking, and touring industry. It is APAP's annual members conference. The dates of our upcoming conference are January 9th through 13th, 2026 at the New York Hilton Midtown and at venues across New York City. Next slide, please. And I'd like to acknowledge and welcome our co-chairs and our full conference committee. Starting with our co-chairs, I'd like to acknowledge Chisa Yamaguchi, Laura Sweet, Mark Wilson, Sarah Hogg, Chris Kaminsky, and Aaron Shackelford. This group leads our conference committee. And again, we are delighted to have them with us today. We'd also like to acknowledge and welcome our conference committee, which is comprised of many members of our field. This group works to craft our programming and conference experience to ensure that we are meeting the moment and the needs of the field. And again, thank you to the conference committee for the great work you're doing. Next slide, please. Thank you. And the key elements of the APAP NYC conference include networking and interest groups, showcases that happen throughout the New York Hilton Midtown and across New York City over our conference dates. There's professional development. We have 3 floors of exhibit space in the New York Hilton, and then we have opportunities for discovery that include up next, artist discovery session, 5 minutes to shine, and we have our annual APAP Honors Awards breakfast where we highlight the great work that has been happening in the field. And we also have opportunities for mentoring leading up to the conference and again on site at the conference. Next slide, please. Okay. And I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Sue Noseworthy, Senior Manager of Conference and Member Experience, to share a bit more about who APAP NYC is.
Thanks, Neo. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I will not reintroduce myself. Thanks for giving a shout out to my full title, Neo. It's great to see everybody here today, and we're so grateful that you've joined us, and we will see all of y'all in just a few short months in New York, which is crazy. So yes, let's dive into who APAP NYC is for. We wanted to share a bit of information with you about who attends the conference and who you'll meet when you arrive. APAP NYC is a convening for arts professionals currently working in or aspiring to work in the performing arts booking, touring, and presenting field. Attendees represent all genres and disciplines and come from all 50 states and approximately 31 countries, which means you will meet and interact with performing arts workers from all over the globe at our event, which is one of the things that makes the APAP booking conference such a special and unique event. To give you a little bit more demographic information about who you'll meet there, approximately 47% of attendees are presenters. And just to provide a little bit of clarifying vernacular, when we use the word presenter, we mean the venues, stages, or festivals that put artists on. Those of you who are artists are not presenters, although you are presenting yourself to the audience, but just to clarify our language that we use. So 47% of attendees are presenters, 13% of our attendees are artists, approximately 26% of our attendees are agents and managers, and 14% fall into the category of other. So that can include people like producers, consultants, students, and other professionals working in our fields. Also wanted to just make a note for everybody about the types of professionals who attend our event. It is not exclusively executives, programmers, or senior leadership, although certainly a large portion of those who attend are. But we also have staff from marketing departments, box office, communications, and development. So you will meet and interact with staff serving in a variety of roles at all different kinds of companies and organizations, which is really terrific. As noted, I think earlier, or maybe not, APAP NYC is a members-only conference. So that means if you are interested in attending or already know that you want to attend, you will need to join as a member first. The good news is that we have a variety of different membership categories and rates to fit the need of every type of arts worker and budget. So please take a look at the membership tab on our website. You can also reach out to a team member if you need help figuring out the best membership type for you. Myself and all of my colleagues on the experience team are available to answer any kind of question about membership and conference. You can reach us at one of 2 emails, and maybe one of my colleagues can also put these in the chat. Info at apap365.org. That's the email box if you mostly have questions about membership. And then if you have questions about any element of conference participation, you can send us a note at apap365.org. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. So we also wanted to just remind everyone that APAP has a number of services available to help ensure that everyone can participate fully in our event, because truly APAP is for everyone, and our goal is to make APAP NYC as accessible as possible. APAP recognizes the importance of leading with a people-first, relationship-based approach in our practice and our spaces. Our offerings this year will include on-site accessibility support available during conference and expo hours. There'll be accessible signage, accessible spaces for wheelchair users and mobility needs. We will also be offering water in every on-site room or space, as well as a stimulus-free quiet space. There'll be lactation and nursing pods available. Additionally, we offer gender-inclusive wheelchair accessible companion restrooms that will be available to attendees. There will also be captioning for all primary sessions and ASL for primary sessions as well. And of course, we can provide individualized assistance and coordination upon request. If you have any questions about accessibility or just want to, ask any kind of question related to accessibility, please send us a note at apapnyc@apap365.org. Next slide, please. Another feature we have available again this year on our website. As a reminder, the URL for our website is apap365.org. You'll see this little red icon on the bottom of the screens of most of our website pages. And if you click on this icon, you will see that it provides a variety of different ways to help make reading the information on our website, more accessible to you, and will include a variety of ways that you can make apap365.org a little bit more friendly to your needs. So a few examples include adjustments for those with color blindness or other visual impairments, MS, or other options are available. And I want to give a shout out to our wonderful Marcoms team, Jenny Thomas and Grace Asuncion, who really made this possible and on a daily basis are ensuring that our website is inclusive and accessible to all. So now just want to quickly introduce my colleague Sam Myers, who hopefully is available to pick up the next section. So thanks, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Can we go to the next slide, please? We're so excited about APAP NYC this year. We're living in a new environment, as you all know, some exciting, some breathtaking, but all needing forward-looking and more clairvoyance than we've ever had. A big part of what we're focusing on at the conference is navigating that world, is claiming a space that we've always known and always had, but doing it in new ways, more powerful ways, having a stronger voice for advocacy. Our 4 tracks, actually advance to the next slide, please, with our 4 tracks. Focusing on the new areas that we need to lean into even more aggressively. So advocacy, future-proofing the arts, belonging by design, and a creative edge. And just to break those down a bit and leave room for questions, so I'm not talking too much. With advocacy, again, that's big A and little a advocacy. People hear advocacy and they think of lobbyists. They think of reaching out and trying to leverage policymakers and state governments and federal governments. Obviously, that still is incredibly important. It always has been, and it will continue to be. I would argue the state aspect of it is probably more important, at least in the short term, given that much of the policy is moving in states. But by little a advocacy, we mean more philanthropic organizations, redefining and understanding how the landscape has changed across that space. There's been policy changes that have changed levels of taxes and levels of the abilities to give, and more ability for everyday Americans to give low dollar donations now with less barriers based on just tax filing. So making more sense of all of that from an advocacy standpoint, what we should be advocating for and how we should be saying it, again, in new ways. The arts aren't a luxury. The arts are an imperative. They are civic infrastructure that injects growth and mobility and resilience into every community across the U.S. And we have a credible case for that almost more than any other sector. So the advocacy piece will be largely focusing on those areas. The future proofing, again, part of this is the ongoing tools that we always need and we always have used, as we've always had at conference. But another part of this is preparing for financial, environmental, and operational volatility. This is, again, for our field, and in a lot of ways, that's always been volatile, I recognize, because the threats to the NEA aren't new. They come every year and they're recycled. But the threats now are not just to the NEA, but again to everything. So it's about future proofing. So moving forward as we go into new election years and new conference cycles and our new budgets and our new programming and our new creative tools, it's future proofing for all those, so we continue to have prosperity and have more wind at our back versus stopping to pivot and then lose ground and then pick up where we left off. Belonging by design. This one is sessions and programming and large conversations and small conversations about something that we all see as very important. We all know is very important. This is everything from what we would call diversity, equity, and inclusion, accessibility, but reframing this for everyone. There's a push right now for those words not to be used and those framings not to be used. But at the end of the day, we know that those are incredibly important, and they all ladder up to belonging, an environment where everyone sees themselves in the power of what we do. And what we do is for everyone. There are people in the Midwest and more conservative areas that say they don't love the arts, but they love country music. They do love the arts. So belonging by design is figuring out, again, how to reach people regionally on different spectrums of political compass and multiple communities on making sure everyone feels like they are a part of this. And again, part of that's advocacy, part of it's how we're talking about ourselves, but being unapologetic about reframing our spaces and our messaging around making sure everyone feels included and sees themselves. And the last track is the creative edge, embracing new technology. I would say AI is probably the tip of the spear there, but it's not the only thing. Again, it's AI around the innovation economy, the creator economy, how we weave that into our productions in a way that doesn't threaten our bottom line and our business, but actually amplifies it. Part of that is leveraging AI around quick data and being able to come up with an argument for why we matter to any audience with different prompts and different research methodologies. Part of it is responsible use of AI. And by that, I mean the knowledge that if you're going to use AI, you should talk about it. So it's obvious and it's not something that you're accidentally being unethical about, but also pivoting the fact that you're talking about it into a form of credibility. That this is not a field that doesn't know how to run with something innovative. This is a field that actually helped train AI. More to come on that. But I think folks will be very excited when they see the schedule and read through the voices that we're going to have coming from a broad sector of credible entities that are everyone from policymakers to policy influencers to technology makers and influencers. And we are excited to see you there. So next slide, please. I think I inadvertently went through, as I do sometimes, some of the talking points on this. But again, the program is intended to champion the arts and articulate our shared purpose and our shared voice, as I said, and adapt to rapidly changing global and local landscapes. And a big part of, I think, what we can really claim is a pipeline that is global to local. The local aspect as essentially architecture for purpose and for, again, prosperity is something that we as a field are very unique at turning into infrastructure across the U.S. for those things. So adapting to a rapidly changing environment, but also being able to talk about how we're in many ways the solution. Cultivating spaces is belonging. So I covered most of what's on this slide. So we'll go to the next slide. And this is the snapshot of what you'll see in the schedule that I believe went out this afternoon. Each day is not a holistic tone, but each day is different in the sense that Friday is our opening and our nod to reclaiming our space, as I said before. Opening plenary will really lean into that idea with some experts and some ideas that you'll be able to keep with you as you're going through conference, into the expo hall, into other sessions, talking to cohorts, talking to your peers, some of which are specific topics, some of which will just be about advancing the business of the arts and sharing best practices. And you'll see as we go, these 4 areas that I touched on will be woven through all of our plenaries and all of our spaces and all of our sessions. I will, before I hand it off, add one more thing. Neo talked about, or maybe Sue did, about 3 levels of expo hall. Just wanted to put a finer point on that for folks that haven't been to APAP. That's 50,000 square feet of expo hall. 3 levels, when you hear that, doesn't quite do justice how massive it is and how many people in the largest convening, not gathering, convening, because we bring everyone to New York City for this largest marketplace for booking in the world. So with that, I'll hand it off. And Sue, I forget who I'm handing it off to. I'm sorry.
I think we're coming back to me. Thank you so much,
Okay, great.
Sam. I appreciate it. And thank you. Okay, we are going to move into our peer panel. I'd like to welcome Sox Whitmore, Sarah Hag, and David Rao. And our treat today is our three panelists are all on our conference committee and have been working in tandem with the APAP team as we've developed this conference framework. So I am going to ask you all to start with your own introduction of the work that you do in the field, and then we'll get into more of our discussion. I'll call on Sox first. Hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Socks, like the things on your feet. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I'm based in Greater Los Angeles, also known as the unceded lands of the Tongva and Gabrielino people. I am the communications director at the Creative and Independent Producer Alliance, which is a service organization for producers who maybe don't work with like large $1 million institutions, but are out there starting their own companies and cultivating art in the margins. I also have an independent producing practice, working across the spectrum of live performance, especially in the realms of musical storytelling. I have a big background in accessibility, neurodivergent literacy, queer and trans experiences, and all around professional development. That's me. Happy to be here today.
Hi, everybody. I am Cristina Fina from Italy, from Puglia Sounds, Puglia Cultura. It's the performing arts export office of the region of Puglia in the southeast of Italy. So we work about the development of our music and performing arts sector in the region and to promote internationally. And we have many collaborations inside Europe, but we would like to participate for the first time in APAP. So I don't know very well. I am trying to understand how I have to do and if I have to stay many days because we have also some showcase in Global Fest Village. The Global Fest, it's the festival in New York during the APAP. We have many collaboration. We have member of the Europe Jazz Network, and we have a collaboration with Jazz Congress just before APAP. So this is, I am trying to understand how to participate and if it would be useful for us to be there. Thank you, everybody.
Christina. We are going to move to, after we hear from the panel, to Q&A. And I think once we hear from the panel, it'll really help paint a picture of what the conference experience is like. And it'll give you a sense of how you can fully participate in the conference. And next, I'd like to go to Sarah Hogg for introductions. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, I am Sarah Haig. I'm from Indiana, and I am a percussionist. Also a self-represented artist, and this is, I'm still kind of a newbie to APAP, believe it or not. I think this will be my 5th year coming. So I've been a voice for the committee for the new person attending and kind of getting our bearings and learning what this is all about. So I've collected some notes over the past few years, and I'm happy to share what I can to make the transition easy for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And David, hi.
Hi there, folks. How are you? My name is David Rowell, and I am advisor to the Dean of the School of the Arts and the School of Dance at Dean College in Franklin, Massachusetts. This year's APAP will be, as much as I hate to sometimes admit this, my 28th APAP. And I have been involved with the presenting field for over 30 plus years. So I joke that I get to have the t-shirt. And so my background has been as a presenter, as a venue and facility manager. I've opened 3 performing arts centers and consulted on the opening of 5 others. As a professor, I teach presenting and producing, marketing, fundraising, venue and facility management, creative entrepreneurship, and all kinds of interest. I actually teach a class in theme park management, which is a trip and a half. And so I have also been a mentor for many, many years, and I joke that I'm Sue's mascot for the mentor program. And I'm excited to be here. This is my second year on the conference planning committee. And I also will put at some point my email in the chat so that if you have any questions or you need anything, you can always email me and I'll be glad to respond and help you with it.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And as we like to say, there are different ways to APAP for everyone. So if you could take turns discussing how the programming is relevant and useful to your various roles in the field.
I can go first. So coming up this year is actually going to be my third APAP. I would self-describe still as like kind of emerging and a newcomer. I initially started coming to APAP with my organization with SEPA. And it's honestly been a really great experience to just have a few conferences, getting to know the landscape. I found that going to this space was really informative as a producer in my own right, just learning how the industry works, how deals get made, and how people represent themselves in these spaces. So it's been really great to have the opportunity to attend in a supportive capacity, thinking about in the future, I might want to showcase or do something like that. I have an ensemble that I co-facilitate here in Los Angeles, and it's been super useful to attend showcases, to walk around the expo and talk to people at their booths, doing a lot of relationship building also. I've really loved getting to make friends at the conference that I then look forward to the next time that I go back there. And I know that there are people who I'm seeing there each year that we haven't collaborated yet, but just by the nature of like continuing to convene in this space, new ideas and things are going to emerge. So I look forward to the peopling and the relationship building. I look forward to the learning aspect. How much this has helped me understand the industry. And yeah, the opportunity to experience and devise new artistic ideas.
I can go next. So regarding programming, I get a lot of questions from new artists, especially within the affinity group setting. How do I go about making connections? Everybody says this is about networking, and yet we are not supposed to pitch per se. And if you don't know what that is, we will talk about that at some point because you need to know what's pitching and what's introducing yourself. There's lots of etiquette to learn. And programming will really help you with that because it gives you a chance as an artist to sit in sessions and learn how others introduce themselves, how they talk about themselves and their roles. Attend sessions that you may not think you even need. A quick story about what happened to me. I joined one a few years ago. It had something to do with development. Development was in the title. And I thought, oh, that sounds like something for new artists because I need to develop myself as an artist. It turned out to be people who are usually working for presenters in like a venue office somewhere. They were developing their own programming. So this was an entire field of professionals that I really did not even know about. But I learned so much from them, and I took things away from that session that would make me a better artist and to help serve the industry better. They talked about how they got very few letters from artists that they would have come in to thank their sponsors. And these people are working so hard to get sponsors for their programming that my takeaway from that was every time I do a show, I need to be writing a thank you letter to the folks that sponsored that series. So that's just one little example of something that you can learn by going to professional development sessions that you might not know about. You don't know what you don't know. And it's great for us to not work in a silo and to learn what everybody else does so that we can support the entire industry.
Hallelujah, Sarah. Yes. The fact of the matter is, folks, this conference, as Sachs, Sachs said, it's about networking, and Sarah said it's about networking. It's about building relationships. I'm gonna be the practical one for a minute, and I'm gonna tell you that you need to look at the schedule, and you need to look carefully at the schedule because if you just think, oh, I'll just go wing it, some people can do that, and it works. Some people, it makes them insane. And the fact of the matter is that knowing Sam showed on one of his slides the days of the conference and things going on, being aware that there are different sessions going on throughout the conference. And that's not, I broke it down in my head. It's like you have expo, you've got showcases, you've got professional development sessions, you've got plenarian speakers, you got meetings, affinity groups, opportunities, and you've got social opportunities. And those six right there will fill the entire time while you are there. Even to the point, for those who are coming in for the first time, as a person who wants to go to showcases, understand that you need to look at the schedule of when showcases are taking place, where they're taking place, and timing of them, because there is no way you can feasibly go to every showcase. It's impossible. But you may find yourself going, okay, I want to go see Mr. Mojo's showcase. What time is his showcase going on in his different rooms? And how does that work with, I want to see another showcase that's in a different space outside of the Hilton. So I have to look at the timing and the coordinating. So programming in many ways is looking at and being aware of what is going on and all of the different things. Take advantage. I got to be very honest with you. One of my favorite things always is the plenary sessions because you never know who's going to. Last year, Seth Godin was brilliant, the marketing god. We do this, and he was outstanding. And opportunities like those kind of settings and situations. Everybody has said professional development sessions. If you have the opportunity, go to professional development sessions because you will get new information or you will get refresher information that will help emphasize what you're working on. One other thing I just want to throw out, because when I hear the word programming as a presenter, I think it's important for artists and managers to understand that presenters may have a programming agenda and they may have a priority system of how they look at shows and how they look at events and how they look at artists. It may be that, okay, the first question mark is, does it fit the mission of their organization? What about the budget? Let's be real. What about, there's some artists I would love to present, and having a 200 seat venue here at Dean College, can't afford it. But so mission, budget, artistic goals, education and outreach activities, possible. Every presenter has got an agenda in the sense of they're looking for things to fit with their programming and scheduling and everything else. Combine that with they're also looking to see new things. I can speak as a presenter. I love to go to showcases because I like to see new artists or artists that I'm not familiar with that I might go, hey, this is something that fits for me. So, from a programming standpoint, it's important for you to be aware that some people may not necessarily fit with what your work is, and that's okay. Because at some point in time, it might fit. And we all have long memories. And that's an important thing to remember. So, Sue, what's the name of our online program for this year? It's not the one we had before.
I think we're branding as the APAP app this year.
Yes.
And so that will be live soon, which will house all of the showcase listing schedules and all programming schedules. I think that's
Okay.
what you're referring to.
When that's live, sign up. Get on, learn how to use it. It's such a tool that is so amazing, and it allows you also to connect with people, to send them and send messaging to them and say, "Hey, can I stop by? Um, can you send me some information? Oh, I'd love to meet you at this, you know." And the last thing I'm going to say is take advantage of the social opportunities. Go to the opening night reception. Go to the breakfast. Go to the awards. Um, Here's my favorite plug for Sue. Go to the membership meeting. It's important, folks. And you never know, one, what you're going to get out of it, but two, you never know who you're going to be sitting next to and a chance to network. You never know who might be showing up at showcases. Years ago, there was a young man whose last name was Eastwood, who's a jazz musician, and he had a showcase in the hotel. And I looked into the room, and it was a little dark in the room, and there was one seat near the back. So I went and sat in the seat, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me. And it was this jazz trio, and they finished the set. It was really good. And I said, "Wow, that was great." And this voice next to me goes, "Thanks, I'll tell him." And I turned and looked and realized I was sitting next to Clint Eastwood. It was his son, and it was his son's band. And it was like, "Thank you, sir." And he's like, "How you doing?" And we ended up chatting for a few minutes. You never know when you go to things here, who you're going to run into, who you might have a chance to talk to. Have your elevators. Here's the teacher in me. Have your elevator speech always ready because you never know. I'll let somebody else talk.
Thank you, David. And it's great to share. Everyone has an individual APAC experience and story. Socks and Sarah, I'd love for you to share, as fairly new in the field, how you navigated coming into the programming and scheduling, as David just talked about using your APAP schedule and trying to navigate programming. Can you talk a bit about your best tips for navigating all that is happening at APAP NYC?
Hmm. I am someone who is a very multi-hyphenate artist, and I have a lot of varied interests. So when I look at all the different sessions, I usually find myself trying to honor all of the different directions I am pulled in. So I might find myself going to sessions on advocacy on topics like DEI, but I'll also want to stop by the marketing space as a marketing professional. I had the pleasure of being one of the facilitators for the professionals under 35 session last year, and that was a great affinity group space. So affinity group spaces are also a wonderful space to be in. I think it's good to mix and match in that way, especially like Sarah said about going to sessions that might feel outside of you. You can learn so much by being in proximity to these people who are in different roles from you in the industry. So definitely fully second that idea of being open to sitting in spaces to learn from people in other roles than yourself. It's a good idea if the space allows for it to ask questions during the Q&A portion. That's actually a really good way to make an impression, and be memorable. There's so many people at these conferences, and it can be hard to keep track of all the faces. So if you say something during the Q&A feedback portion that someone else is like, "That was my same question. Thanks for like saying the thing that was on my mind," or "Thank you for speaking about something that I didn't think about. Thank you for offering a new perspective." That can be a really good way to be memorable, not just to the panelists, but also to the other attendees in the room. My favorite types of sessions are the ones where I get to sit, literally or just dialogue wise, I get to sit at the table with other peers and talk about the things that we're facing. I had a really rewarding time at last APAP at some climate-based sessions where we had some really vigorous dialogues about sustainability and how we as an arts ecosystem can have mindfulness about climate action. And there was like such drive with the people at this table that we had an interest in continuing the momentum after the conference. So that was a really exciting space to find people with shared values who had drive, who wanted to follow the momentum. That was super great. Also, on the subject of showcasing, at a recent conference, I went and I saw a showcase of an a cappella group, and the group that I facilitate is also an a cappella group. And I just learned so much from watching that group do their showcase. And I took notes on the ways that they packaged themselves and the different nuances of how they structured their performance. There was so much that I learned from observing that experience that I want to take into whenever I find myself producing that type of sample performance.
I think from my perspective, I'm going purely as an artist. So unlike Socks, I'm not wearing as many hats. So my goals have been to meet people in the right spaces at the right times, but meet the right people too. And so that takes a lot of research. We are given lists beforehand of attendees. And I'm not sure yet how this year's app will work, but if it was anything like years past, you have visibility to who plans to attend each session if they've signed up for it, or at least those that are facilitating and speaking in the sessions. And you can use your list to find out who those people are, what their backgrounds are, and if it's a good fit for you as an artist to meet those folks. Also, the other thing that I've tried to do is with programming strategy is to volunteer. To the new people going, if you're not sure how this works and you're not really sure what to do with yourself this first year, volunteer. I'm sure APAP can find a place where you can help and you will get plenty of visibility. And believe me, you will figure out how it works and what's going on. So that would be one opportunity. Another opportunity for those that have been around longer, I would still say volunteer, but maybe volunteer in a different way. See how you can help out with the programming angle. Maybe you're somebody that has knowledge on one of these areas that we're filling speaker slots for, and you can lend your voice. And then you're meeting the people too that are interested in that topic that you have information about. So I think it can go both ways. But for me, my strategy when I'm considering programming and my calendar, I start to look at the schedule as soon as it becomes available, but then I keep an eye on that attendee list to see who's going to be where, or at least who might be where, and I factor that in. I want to get around the people that I can help and that can help me.
Sounds good. I put a plug in on the chat for anyone who's attending for this is your first time or even your second time. I would recommend attending the orientation session on Friday the 9th from 1:30 to 2:45. It's a great opportunity to get good info, to meet people, and to get connected with possible mentors. And so I highly recommend, if this is your first time, attend the orientation section. Look for Mojo and I and a bunch of other people who are always there. And he's got that hat. I love that hat. So when it comes to programming for the conference, because I've been in a couple of different roles, it changes. But the key thing for me has always been about taking advantage of all the opportunities and being able to connect with people. Connect with people that I know, connect with people that I've worked with, see people, hug people that it's APAP reunion time, and see how people are doing. But also look at, I walk around the expo and I look at, okay, who's representing who? Artists change at times from their representation, or there might be somebody new and who they're representing, and getting to know all that kind of information I think is very important. Sarah was right about volunteering. jump in where you can, and again, that helps connect you to people. The other big thing that I always is to remember is do not kill yourself. You don't have to, if you need to take a break and you need to go put your feet up, go put your feet up. If you need to go downstairs and get a cup of coffee, or you need to go to your room because your head hurts and you need to take an aspirin and lie down for a half an hour, do it. Because the fact is that this is a very busy time, and it requires a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And you have to be aware that you're also, in and amongst all of this, you're setting, in some cases, a first impression or a second impression, and being aware of that. The other thing, Pat Hazel, who is a great colleague for all of us, and he one time was guest speaking for me in one of my classes, and I said something about, it's jokingly said, yeah, well, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And he said, I have a new paradigm. And I said, okay, tell me the new paradigm. He said, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And that rocked my world because it made me realize that it was not just about who I knew, but who knew me, and that connection. And Seth Godin, who I spoke about earlier, one time said, your reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And that's part of what you're developing also as you're building this connection and these relationships. So part of your programming is how do I use all this to help cultivate those relationships, depending on whatever the role may be.
Thanks for that, David. I think we have a question before that, though, real quick. Is it fair to say this will be my second conference, but I've been doing conferences my whole life. Is it fair to say eat a big breakfast, hydrate, and wear comfortable shoes? Great. Christina Pina, I believe, has a question about the website and connecting with folks. Sue, do you want to take that, or Neo?
Yes.
I'm actually, I'll share a few things and then I'm going to pivot back to our panelists to talk a bit more about that as well. So, Christina, once you are registered, you will receive a weekly attendee list. This is a spreadsheet you will get, and this will happen leading up to the conference. I believe that started maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. You'll get an attendee list that is segmented by your role in the field, how you're participating, some information about your artist roster, or as a programmer, it'll have some information about your venue specs and what you are interested in programming. As Sarah mentioned, and Sox and David, research is key here. You would use that attendee list to begin to do research and start to make initial connections with folks in advance of the conference. In addition, please continue to attend sessions such as this on the road to conference, webinars like this. We also have other virtual networking events that will happen as we work towards the conference. And we have office hours, and those are great opportunities to come together to build community with those in the room and begin to meet others at that time. So I'm going to pivot back to our panelists to add how they do some advanced preparation using the attendee list.
I'll go ahead and jump in on that one. I've got some thoughts from the artist standpoint that I will get on a soapbox about for just a second. It is a large list, and those who don't know any better or choose not to do their homework end up spamming the list. That is a major no-no, and it's not going to help you. And yes, it is all about who knows you, but you got to be careful how you're known. I see things coming into my inbox as an artist for people that are promoting their shows, And all it tells me is that they haven't done their homework because I'm not a venue. I'm not a presenter. I don't need to know that. That's just one more email that I get to delete. And first of all, what I would recommend is that you know what you're looking for out of that list. Figure out what your target demographic is and what size of a venue you're looking for. Who do you need to meet, and prioritize those people. The question about the database for membership, I have some reservation about that from an artist standpoint, because I can see where if every member had their contact information available online, they would get overwhelmed with folks reaching out trying to get booked. And this is such a long-term business that you're actually doing yourself a disservice by just randomly calling or emailing people. It is best to make the connection in advance, in person when possible at these conferences, or at the very least, if you have to send a blind email, explain, this is really important, explain why you're a good fit for their venue. Show them that you have researched by looking at their website and that you've reviewed their mission statement, that you understand who they're already bringing in, and that you might be a good fit because you work well with these other artists that they're already booking. Or maybe you see that they have a certain type of clientele. Maybe they're trying to get donations from their subscribers. Maybe you offer to do something more intimate if you're a smaller artist. Like, I'm not going to reach out to the venues that seat thousands of people. As you can see behind me, I've got a couple instruments. You can tell I'm not like heavy metal or anything. I'm looking for small venues. And as you do that, you have to recognize when to pitch. And honestly, even in that first email, it's not really the time to send all of your information. You might just send enough to get them curious where they want to call you back. But really what you want to do is use those connection points to reach out well in advance of the conference and book meetings with folks, or let them know, hey, I plan to go to this particular professional development session. Maybe I could meet you there if you're interested in this topic. It looks like we have XYZ in common. Let's chat about this. Let's see if we're a good fit for each other down the road. That's really, when it comes to the database and how you do your research in advance, more is better with the research and less is better when it comes to the emails.
I like the way you put that. That was good. I can speak as a presenter. I have had times when I've gotten bombed with stuff from people that is just not, like right now, for example, I'm listed as an other. I'm not listed as a presenter. I'm an other because I'm an educator, and I'm an educator at a college that doesn't have a presenting series. So pitching me doesn't do any good because I don't have the ability to present anything. I gather information for my classes and stuff like that, but I get bombarded sometimes. And we talk about first impressions. You spam people, that's a negative first impression that you don't want. You got to be very careful with. As for prepping, I that list that comes out, that Excel list that comes out, I go in, being an anal retentive ex stage manager, I go in and I sort it, and I resort it by either by venue, depending if I'm looking at artists, I sort it by last name. If I'm looking at venues, I sort it by title of the venue. And I look at the connections and the contacts, and I start to make notes about, okay, who do I want to connect with directly while I'm at the conference? And do I need to think about scheduling an appointment? Some presenters will fill their calendar booking appointments, and that's what they do, and they don't necessarily leave time to wander around or explore. Every presenter has a different methodology. For me, first day of the expo hall, which is the Saturday, I don't schedule anything. That's my day to walk around. That's my day to connect with people. That's my day to look at and talk to people and see what's going on in the business, what's happened in the last year. I will then have scheduled appointments for Sunday and Monday. So you have to figure out what works best for you. And you have to think about what, you might get clues and indicators from, as an artist, you're looking at presenters. They may give you clues and indicators. Follow those. Pay attention to them. Somebody might say, hey, great, I'd love to see some information. Go ahead and send it to me. Send it to them and then, okay. And then follow up later on. But you got to figure out what's the best methodology for you. But take advantage of looking at that list and looking at the categories, looking at presenter, looking at artist, looking at agent manager, looking at other, and use that as a resource. Don't just ignore it, because it will help you. It'll help you plan, and it'll help you be less frustrated when all is said and done.
Thank you. Mojo, do you have a comment?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Good. I just want to offer one gift. I'm thinking, what can I deliver to everyone on this webinar that's useful? The first thing is, everybody on this panel today that spoke, I know them personally, and they have the same approach to every relationship, and that is, if you intend it to be permanent, you'll never go wrong. So these are all lifetime relationships that you are starting today. If you haven't met any of these people before, it'll be there forever. The other thing, and I think the most valuable thing that David Rowe shared with us today, was the concept of getting a mentor. The largest growing and fastest growing segment of our industry post-pandemic is new colleagues. And when I was on the board of NAPAMO, we kind of labeled that as almost number one thing that we need to do in the industry, and that is to groom the next generation. So reach out to mentors. We're all very diverse people. We do all kinds of things. If you want to learn how to run an exhibit booth, get in touch. If you want to learn how to pitch to presenters, get in touch. If you want to learn how to run a showcase room, get in touch. If you want to do tech, if you want to do anything, get in touch. I'm talking about myself personally. I'll help all of you. No questions asked. And the reward is your success in the performing arts. So please reach out, get mentors. There's no way we can tell you everything in an hour. But if you have that lifetime relationship, as you grow, we can help you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you for that plug. That is important. We will share more about this and also drop a link in the chat. Like Mojo, we have other leaders in the field who are happy to answer any questions you have leading up to the conference. And if you fill out the form we put in the chat, we will put you in touch with these mentors now, and they're happy to support your experience in the field. Okay. Going back to programming a bit of what to expect. Socks, you touched on this a bit. Can you share more about the benefits of participating in the affinity groups as a way to build community?
Absolutely. I think that affinity groups are just such an essential aspect of conferencing. I know that I, as a queer and trans person, get really excited about things like GayPAP is the queer space at APAP's conference, and I find it really something I look forward to is finding the peers that are in my community that are also working in the field that I work in. We learn a lot from each other, both like how do you navigate this industry in like the lived experience that we have, how can we advocate for our community in this industry and build even bigger and better spaces. Sometimes it can lead to collaborations if you turn out to have like-minded ways to those types of things. I also really valued the under 35 affinity group. As was mentioned, this is a space where new colleagues are learning about the field for the first time. I think that APAP and conferences like it are so essential for allowing intergenerational conversations to happen. But it's also exciting to be able to connect with the people who are in the same boat as you, of like this emerging artist or just arts professional. And you're all in this new we're building relationships phase. Like we're building the relationships that will last the longest because they're starting at the earliest point in your career. And so an affinity group like that is really exciting because these are the colleagues that one day you get to say, like, we've known each other for 20 years. And that's really exciting. And you get to be able to have conversations that bring to light the issues that we're all facing as collectives, and hopefully devise solutions or just find solidarity and empathy in things that you take home with you that you carry forward from that point. Those are some of the things I treasure about affinity groups.
Thoughts. Sarah or David, anything you'd like to add?
I want to throw something. Mojo talked about lifetime relationships and building and connections. My first mentor years ago was a woman by the name of Mary Beth Treen, and she was an amazing woman. And she was my first mentor years ago at a regional conference. And every conference, she would check on me and we would catch up and we would we would talk. And like one year in that we were in Nashville and I took her out to dinner and we hung out and everything else. We never booked a show together. She was a booking agent, but we ended up never booking a show together because it never fit. But that didn't matter because it was about the relationship. And she, from the time that happened until, rest in peace, she passed away, she was my mentor and she checked on me. I mean, I'll give you an example. She emailed me when each of my kids were born. So did Anne Patrice Carrion. So, it's about that lifelong connection. And that may happen through an affinity group. That may happen through meeting somebody at coffee. Be open to it. Take advantage of it.
I think for me, the affinity groups are a safe space. So especially with things happening right now that the way that they are, APAP does record some of the sessions, but they do not record affinity groups. They do not even require you to be an active member to go to an affinity group meeting. So if you have folks that maybe they're not registered yet and they're just like, what is this whole thing about? They can actually go to the affinity groups as long as it's not a closed one. Some of them are closed, like some of the presenters consortiums, but speaking for the artist affinity group specifically, it is open to any artist, regardless of if they're registered for conference or not. But you can learn a lot about it and meet the other artists that are involved in it. And it is a safe space. Nothing that's said there goes outside that room, and it's not recorded. So it's a great place to get some encouragement and some education.
To offer a bit of logistic background on what Sarah just shared, the affinity groups and forums largely happen on Friday morning before we officially start the conference, and they are open to the field. You do not need to register, but through our website, we would ask you to RSVP if you can, but the forums and affinity groups are open to all. That is officially before our opening plenary at 4 p.m. Those are open to the field. Okay, I'm looking at the room.
Let me throw something in with that, folks.
Please.
If you are a presenter and you are not connected with your state consortium organization, get connected with your state consortium organization. For example, Florida Presenters North Carolina presenters, PA presenters are all amazing state consortiums and opportunities for presenters to come together. Florida presenters gets together 4 times a year, and they come and to work on block booking, to look at, and they'll put the large venues in one room and the smaller venues in another room, or there'll be a session on education. So if you are a presenter and you're not involved in your state consortium yet, check into that.
Thank you.
Neil, can I just add real quick to that? I
Please.
mean, the reason that one of the reasons that convening is so important is, I mean, you all are already in what I would call in the campaign world, from what I grew up in. You're already in the foxhole together. You already do incredible work that is very, very transformative and wildly important. And because of that, you share a connectivity, almost a cellular and soul level that very other fields do. So being able to come together physically at the convening for these affinity groups is another reason why it's so important. But I just wanted to add, that as part of the programming after the affinity groups, we've heard from many folks, many members in the field and the industry, that more space to be able to come together, more time to come together would be valuable. So we're making space for that as well, so to speak. Some different areas that either are specific to expertise, like we have one session is a 7-minute advocacy pitch, arts advocacy pitch, potentially having consultants in there throughout the entire conference. So it's a space to go in and learn more whenever, but also come together for any other topic. So there will be more spaces to be able to come together, which is, again, the convening is important for a reason. We'll all be together in New York, so we're going to make more space for folks to talk and share. Wanted to add that. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you, Sam. And I'd like to open the floor for other questions that you may have, or comments, or good advice for those that might be new to the field. And Sue, we have a question in the chat, and I'm unsure if this is posted or if this is information that's provided to members through our website. Do we list all of the state presenters? Or I'm thinking maybe that's a list of state consortia. Is there a list?
We actually do not, I believe, right now have the list of state presenter consortia, but Eddie, I'm happy to work with you individually because I have a lot of them practically memorized. I will put my email connected to your comment, and just reach out to me and I will work with you to find your state presenter consortia.
Great, thank you, Sue. Are there other questions? Okay, Robbie, can I ask you to bring up our PowerPoint again, please? Okay, can we move to next steps? Well, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and to share reminders of next steps to complete your pre-conference experience. If you've not done so already, please join and/or renew your APAP membership, as this is a members-only conference. If participation assistance is desired, please complete the participation assistance scholarship application, which you can find online. We do have a few scholarships remaining at this time. Register for the conference. As a quick reminder, our current early bird registration rate expires on November 6th. So we've got about a week and a half before the conference registration rate increases. Book your hotel reservation. That deadline is December 9th. And continue to attend our Road to Conference sessions. The next one is November 12th. And attend office hours as well, which is, just as it sounds, a general time to come and be with the staff and members of the conference committee and ask any questions you have in support of your conference experience. Sue, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a clarifying point about the registration rate increase. For those of you who are artists and are eligible to take advantage of the artist rate, that rate does not go up at this deadline time. It will go up to an on-site price, but that's as we are literally days away from the conference beginning. So just wanted to make a shout out about that. The full conference registration rate does go up after November 6th, but the artist rate remains unchanged, as does the student rate. So if you are eligible for either of those, please note that you are not subject to that deadline and you can register anytime. Just wanted to call that out, Neo.
Important details to share. Thank you so much for that, Sue. And lastly, we'd like to remind you, but our panel and our experts in the field have done a great job today of talking about the benefits of having a mentor. We've put the form in the chat. We do have mentors in the field that are eager to support you, so please ask for a mentor and fill out today's conference survey. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on the road to conference. Thanks, everyone.